Hey, everybody, and welcome to Coached by Coaches. I'm Bob McCraney, and today I'm super thrilled to have a group of coaches with me who I work with at Tom Ferry International with bringing real estate agents into their best business. So I'm going to go around the room here for a second. I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. I'm Bob McCraney. I've been in coaching myself a little over 10 years. I've been a coach around 8.5 years, and I'm here because I've doubled my company three different ways. I had a long term growth goal of what I wanted to do with my company. I didn't even know that goal when I started in coaching, but I figured it out pretty quickly. My first coach, Sheila McGraw, kicked me in the butt and helped me plan things out. And I'm just now achieving some of those goals that I set back 9 years ago. So I love to see people's lives change. My mantra right now is that I want to make all of my coaching clients rich, because if I make them rich, I will also benefit along the way. So I'm heavy into technology, social media, trying to get everything top of funnel work, lead attraction. That's my niche. And I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves. Let's go, Coach Sandra. Let's talk to you.
Thank you, Coach. Well, as you know, Bob McCraney is my coach, and I have been a coach for Tom Ferry since 2016. And my first coach was Mark Johnson and Day Fairchild. And from then on, I have always had a coach. And I have been a coach since 2010. So I am celebrating my year 14 of being a coach. And my specialty is executive and performance coaching. But because if we are not in the right space, in mindset wise, with our thoughts, with our health, with how we feel about ourselves, we will not be able to perform at a higher level. And I love branding. Branding to me is everything for a business. So that goes very much hand in hand with marketing. And that's why Bob is my coach.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Dan, Coach Dan.
So I am Coach Dan Winters. I've been in the Tom Ferry ecosystem as a coaching client since January of 2018, where I met my very first coach who really helped me with mindset and focus and really building a foundation. So much so that within 3 months of joining coaching, I told her I had a 5-year plan to do exactly what she did for me and change lives, help build foundations, and get people a really clear roadmap on where they're headed with business. So in December of 2023, I accomplished my 5-year goal and I became a Tom Ferry coach. My focus and my expertise is building that foundation. Just like when you're building a house, building a business is the same thing. Without a solid foundation, it's going to ultimately crumble, or there are going to be times where we have some setbacks. So that's really where my focus is getting people kind of launched, getting a solid foundation built. And similar to Sandra as well, is it's mindset work. This business can be lonely and stressful and incredibly difficult at times. And it's easy to allow ourselves to kind of slide and hide in the gray area. My job, as I see it as a coach, is to help you get out of that, but also get you to achieve your 5, 10, 15, 20-year goals. I also coach with Bob McCraney because I also think branding is very important, and being able to bring that to my coaching clients as well.
Thank you. So one thing I'm dealing with some of my coaching clients, and I want you to kind of take this as a launching pad and go whatever directions you want with, is clients who can't get out of their own way. Clients who say, I want this, or I'm struggling with that. And then every week their leading indicators of their lagging successes, their leading indicators just don't line up with what they said. How do you work with somebody who doesn't seem to put the actions in alignment with their words?
Well, I am obsessed with an executive coach right now whose name is Julie Gerner. And I was listening to a podcast with her yesterday, and she was talking about the importance of splitting hairs with words that sound the same, like persistence and tenacious, kind and nice, efficient and effective, and the importance of understanding that it's not just a skills issue, it's how we manage ourselves. And she said something so important. She said that confidence builds, but so does hesitancy. Hesitancy, I don't know how to say that word. When you doubt yourself, also compounds. And what it does is that it starts picking at confidence and it starts diminishing your confidence. And it gets incremental with your doubt, with your self-talk, with your being hesitant to get into action. So it becomes a vicious cycle, right? And it's the importance of understanding that the way that we talk to ourselves, that we refer to our environment, that really hits us. So we know that the 3 C's of anti-growth are or not growing are complaining, comparing, and criticizing. But complaining is the worst because it gets embedded in your mindset and it becomes like an addiction, like a really bad habit. But what that also does is that when complaining gets bitter, it starts to affect your environment, the people around you. And so we have to be really mindful of the words that we speak to ourselves. And it's like our thoughts are our own jail. So we are the only one that can take ourselves out of the jail. So if somebody, today I was like running, and my assistant said, "Are you angry?" And I said, "No, I am very grateful that I have a lot of work." So if I would have said, "No, I'm not hungry, I'm tired," those two words don't help. So the moment that we say, "I am grateful that I have a lot of work," then she says, "Wow, that's amazing." So the way that we talk impacts the people around us, but most importantly, it impacts ourselves. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Ditto. But for real, you know, I'm big into the law of attraction, right? What we put out into the world, into the universe, is what the world and the universe is going to give back to us. I mean, in a way you can say universe, God, whatever. It's whatever you put out there does come back. And our thoughts become things. And if we're out there criticizing and complaining, all you're putting out is a negative message to the world, and that's what comes back to you tenfold.
Yes.
To Sandra's point is you have to be able to say, you know what, I'm grateful for. Even if you're having a really crap day, I'm grateful that I get to have these problems in the world of real estate because it means I have business, right? You can be grateful for all types of things. I also believe, and it's something that I've worked with Coach Bob about too, is just you have to sometimes remove yourself if you want your business to grow. And it sounds counterintuitive and counterproductive. With that said, we just had Success Summit, and I actually took a week off beforehand for my birthday and took off Summit. I've never taken off that much time, and my team stepped up and they're thriving. They've got more business coming in than what we had. And being able to recognize that sometimes we are that problem and we're the stop to the growth that we want to see. And a lot of times it does kind of circle back to Coach Sandra's point, though, is it's mindset and the messaging that you're putting out to the world. So instead of complaining, be grateful. Even if your day is hectic, be grateful that you woke up today. You woke up breathing on this side of the dirt. Like, it's a win. So that's kind of how I look at things, I guess.
That's so important.
Yeah. Gratitude journals are something I struggle with because I suck at remembering to go do them. I do better with whiteboards and having things written up in visual, as Tom would say, having my goals up in visual, and I'll jot some gratitudes on the board. But there was a while there that we had some things going on at Tom Ferry that we were all doing gratitude journals, and I like the habit of it, but I let myself off of that habit. So maybe I need a little coach to coach, knock across the head here. That having that written, that the craft of writing the journal of what I'm thankful for and what I'm grateful for and what I'm looking forward to is something that I think helps. And I think there's something to the actual writing of it, you know, that your mind has to tell your hand has to tell the pen to put it onto the page, and your eye has to validate that it was, you know, written properly, and you're focused on that future and that gratefulness. I think that's something that I personally should pick back up. But I also think for clients, having your goals up in visual and your gratitudes up in visual are absolutely important. When we have a client that's out of sync between their words and their actions, one of the things I ask them or I tell them is, I don't work for you. I work for future you. Okay.
Oh,
Future you needs you to be strong today so that they can have a better life and that they're further along the road than you are today. When did you decide the future you wasn't important? When did
wow.
you decide this week when you didn't do the processes that you committed to? I didn't set these processes up. You and I established them together. When did you decide future you was not as important? Because what you're doing is you're putting everyone else around you on a pedestal and you're depreciating yourself. And by doing that, you're depreciating future you. Because something that Sandra was talking about was how, when you think about something, it's the compounding effect. And I think Dan might have touched on this too. The compounding effect of the negative emotion and the complaining and the criticizing just builds on itself. And I bring all my friends in to complain about stuff. That just exponentially explodes. But if I walk into the room grateful, as you said, grateful for the work, grateful for the opportunity, that can also change their world as well. That magnetism, that law of attraction Dan was talking about, can help buoy people through, and thus future you has a better life. Did that all make sense, or did I just jabber that?
Absolutely.
100%.
And that brings it to a point where during summit last week, Tom showed a slide of there's around 1,500,000-ish agents in the US are registered in the NAR. And there was a bar that said that 1,111,246 had done 0 transactions. And to whatever, the following group, that was a large group, had done 2 transactions from January to today. The group at the bottom that had done as a team over 124 transactions were only 2,000 agents. However, there was a group of 24,000 agents that had done 24 transactions. Now, Dan, who would you ask about the market? The million that didn't do anything and that will complain, or the 24,000 that did 24 transactions? So that's when I say, who would you believe?
The 24,000 all day long.
The 24,000 all day long. So we really need to stop comparing, because if we begin comparing to the market that will not repeat itself again, please, because it was a pandemic, and we did adapt, that market is not coming back. So as always, there are cycles in every sales business, and the cycles are related to the life of people. So there will always be first-time home buyers. We will always get, well, not me, but other people get married. So the diamond. So then other people will have babies, and other people, not me again, not for the 4th time, will get divorced. And then, well, the 3rd. And of course, other people will need to relocate or invest, downsize, and we are all eventually going to die. So if we follow up, like you very well say, Coach Bob, we need to follow the funnel and follow up on
Yes.
our leads. Database hygiene is also an attitude. So how are we looking at what gives us money? As hard and tough and horrible, or as a machine that will be spitting out money if we have the good mindset to keep it going. So those 1,111,246 agents that have had no closings means they're not prospecting and saying it's hard and tough, and they are believing it. To the advantage of the 24,000 that are making a lot of
Yes. Yes. I love everything you just said there. That was perfect. Dan, what are your
And that
thoughts?
talks about the future you, right?
Yeah. Which one do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known as the future you who's super successful, or the future you who's exactly where you are today? Yeah. Who wants to be the same?
Mm-mm.
No one, but the only aspect that's always happening is change. And it's not that we have a time management problem. We have a priority problem. Priority problem. Priority problem.
So maybe this is a question that we can throw out there. How do you help people prioritize? I'm huge on time blocking, and I'm huge on task management. Okay. I prefer to task manage by list. I sit down every week with my list. I cross out things I've done, and I write down the news. And I have my I'm a paper person still in this regard. I have my paper, and I sit down and write out my stuff. Um, how do you help people task manage and time manage and prioritize? And
So this is
let Dan take a shot at that one.
Yes.
So this has been a conversation with all of my coaching clients at Summit is, we do our call check-in forms and it's, I ran out of time. I didn't have time. I don't have time. I didn't get to this. And the question I'm asking people is, well, is it that you didn't have time? Or to what Sandra said and what Tom said is, or did you just not prioritize this? Instead of doing this, what did you do? Right. And then when they're like, well, instead I was on TikTok or I did this or I went to lunch or I went to drinks. Great. So you prioritized fun and non-dollar producing activities, non-prospecting activities. So you prioritize that, which means you're not prioritizing your business. Now, is your business important? Right? Is this a priority for your life? Are drinks and TikTok and hanging out with your friends, is that going to fund your life and your goals? Right. And I try to bring people back to their 1, 5, and 10-year visions, right? If you want to in 10 years be at this point, are your actions today prioritized to get you there in 7? Because it doesn't need to take you 10. These are just goals to shoot for, right? I wanted to be a coach in 5 years. I knew what I needed to prioritize. That was getting my mindset together, getting my team together, aligning myself with the right coaches that would help me get to where I needed to be. And I made it there. Right? That you have to prioritize what's important. Even as coaches, we also struggle with this too. And that's something where I, after Summit, completely revamped my calendar. Because, like Bob, I really kind of push and lean into the idea that we need to time block our lives. And it's not just time blocking work stuff, time block your personal stuff. When are you getting up in the morning? When are you going to the gym in the morning? When do you have a doctor's appointment? When do you want to take a 15-minute walk around the block just to get fresh air? Right? When are you going to be done for the day? It's prioritizing also our boundaries within our business, because that's what's going to allow us then at 7 o'clock when I want to be done, I can go get drinks now with my friends because I'm prioritizing that time in the time that it makes the most sense. So a lot of it's just, bringing back to what people think, or, well, I think that's kind of correct, what they think is important. Because sometimes having these conversations, I had a call this week where I asked, like, okay, then are your goals important? Are you going to prioritize this over this? They changed their whole goals because they realized what they had put down 6 months ago is not what they want to do now. And that's something that I do believe other people forget too, is you can set these plans 1, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is that you want to do. They're not set in stone. Our life priorities change, right? Maybe you wanted to travel, but now you want to have a family. Well, that just means you're adjusting something. Or maybe you wanted a family, now you want to travel, just adjust again. Our priorities are on a kind of a sliding scale on how big and important they are, and it's okay to change your mind. But that's what I just bring back to everybody is just what was important to you when we chatted. And don't tell me what you think I want to hear, because your goals aren't my goals. I will champion you all day long, but I'm not bought into your goals. They're not mine. You have to buy in and prioritize all day long.
That was beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely well put. I like what you said as far as, going out with your friends and doing TikTok and drinks. Is that your priority, or is that something you have a boundary around at the end of your day after your work is established? Okay. Because those are fun things to do. I don't necessarily find the people who are, and I'm not picking on TikTokers, but people who do that and they're doing all the gadfly sort of meeting and greeting and having fun. How are you converting those?
Mhm.
And that's where the systems come into place. I am a website person. I love websites and doing stuff like that. But that's how I get people in. I get people off of social and out of my friends group, and I put them into systems so that they are maintaining that relationship. I find that there are a lot of people who do the top of funnel, going out and making the videos and the reels and shaking the hands and kissing the babies, and they have no idea who those people were a week later or how to get back to them. How are you helping people systematize their successes?
Database hygiene. And I tell them, if you have conversations and you don't know who you talked with, like you just said, then you didn't have a conversation. A conversation should have a goal, a meaning, something that you take out of it. And I always say, if you just focus on your needs, you're going to focus on the low-hanging fruit. If you focus on the client's needs, you're going to focus on the long-term follow-up funnel, automation, dripping, and calling. Because, Bob, who would you prefer to work with? With an agent who's just dripping you a ton of things, or an agent that really cares about you, drips you, understands what you want, and calls you?
Yes, of course. Talk for a second. You mentioned database hygiene twice. I want to be sure that everybody who watches this later understands what that means, especially coming from you. What does database hygiene mean, and how would an agent go about? I've got an agent I talked to the other day, has two databases, each of them with around 2,200 people, and is just at her wits' end trying to figure it out. Talk to me about database hygiene and what that means to you.
A long time ago, one of my bosses, one of them who you know, Philip, told me that the value, because he's also your client, told me that the value of your business lies 100% in database. And that stuck with me. So I understand that one of our weak legs as agents is having help or trying to do everything ourselves because we can't afford to get help. So database hygiene means, where are your contacts? Are they in a Post-it? Are they in your phone? Are they in a paper agenda? Are they everywhere? Where are they? Do you have them categorized? Do you have full information, at least name, phone, street address, email? Have you dug deeper in terms of when's their birthday? Have you had that Ford conversation, family, occupation, relationships, dreams, where you know what they are up to? Are those all of those contacts in a CRM, and are you working that CRM consistently? And are you really working smart lists and action plans? The other day, Tom said about a high-level client in the ecosystem that has over, I don't remember, it was 100,000 leads or something. Did you hear that, Dan? That hurt. And he
Mhm.
said that 5% of our database, 5% of our database is transacting this year, with or without you. If you have a database like some people have teeth, one teeth yes and one teeth no, that's not gonna help. And he said that just having a bunch of names does not mean that you have a database. It's like having dental hygiene. You have to keep up and floss and brush and keep up with your database. Why? Because 5% of that database is going to transact this year. So that means having a database that's complete, at least with those four data points, having the funnels, having the automations, personalizing it. For example, in my personal database, I do have it personalized because I know that people that have a different religion than Christmas hate it when you send them a Christmas card and you didn't send them a Hanukkah card. Or because you have a different New Year or a different Mother's Day, right? So that means I care about you, Bob. And I want you to be top of mind. It doesn't matter where in the world are you. Today I have a conversation with a client in Mallorca who her market is second and third home buyers. They're not going to be in her neck of the woods, but we can keep those clients followed up with an ISA, with correct lead management and caring about the client. All of your contacts should be in your database. And you have
Excellent.
taught me that. Remember what we discovered?
Love that. Dan, what would you like to throw on top of that? Because that was perfect. That was a masterclass right there.
That's all I got.
I'm a super nerd for that. I wrote a 70-page document with a flow and everything. And my clients, when I go with them, okay, guys, where's your lead management? And they say, don't give me that heartache. And I said, what's more heartbreaking? Losing 50 transactions because you didn't follow up? And they go like, okay, let's not go there.
Right. But okay, so and this is something, we just came off of Summit. There are so many products out there that people think they can throw two or three or four or $500 at, and that'll solve their issues. When what you're talking about is spending the hard time cultivating the ones you already have and taking care of the contacts you've already made. But hey, Bob, here's this simple whiz bang solution, and it's got the letters A and I on it, so I think it's got to be something important. And I've heard of this brand somewhere before, and so I'm going to go spend on this. And I'm always like, what are we doing to convert the ones we have before we go spend the next three, four, $500 in a 12, 15, 20-month contract, whatever, that they kind of get you locked into. Nothing against any of these brands. I love you all, mostly. But you got to be very cognizant of where that money spend is going when you could spend, instead of money, you could spend some time. The idea that you know when somebody's birthday is, that which holidays are important to them, which holidays are not ones you want to touch right now. I recently lost my mom. I don't need anything for Mother's Day right now. Knowing that you have things that that client should or should not be, maybe you send something different. You know, Having that knowledge that you were just talking about is so effective in maintaining that relationship, because you're not there to sell somebody. You're part of their world. Yeah. Dan, what would you like to throw in on this?
Uh, I'm just in. Oh, where'd Sandra go?
She had to jump off.
Oh, it's like, well, I'm just in awe of Sandra and you. That's kind of where I've been. Just kind of sitting and like listening to coaches that have been here, done it, really just kind of this is the essence of coaching, right? Where the ecosystem, particularly when we talk about Tom Ferry, this is what it's about. I don't have a lot to add to the conversation right now. What I'm doing and getting the opportunity to do is to mastermind with two amazing coaches who are giving me tips and tools to bring to my own clients, right? And that's where coaching programs in general, the power is in that. And the value of coaching isn't in your coaching call, it's the people you get to surround yourself with. So I'm just kind of in awe and soaking it all up.
So I think I think I heard the phrase, the six people that you're around the most are help you build your life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm misstating that, but basically the six people you go hang out with contribute the most to your world.
Mm-hmm.
When you're the apex of those six, nothing against those friends and whatever, but when you're the apex as far as career or stability or whatever, you might need to grow a new group. You might need to hang with some new folks. Now, I'm not saying ditch your friends, but I'm saying find a new tribe that helps inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of going through a bit of a revolution in my world right now. I'm going to go get my second master's degree, this time in digital marketing. I want to go hang out with people who understand this better than I do and show me things that I can then bring back to my coaching clients and say, hey, oh my God, I just learned this. We all have to go rush and do or whatever. I need to sharpen my axe, as we hear people say. You know, if you spend time sharpening your axe, you're going to be more effective at cutting down the trees than just whacking the trees with a dull instrument. I want to go do that. And what you're talking about is sharpening our axes together with other coaches, because
Mhm.
every one of the coaches have a different approach. All of them valid for some people, but all of them also invalid for others. I mean, I'm not the right coach for everybody. And you are, I mean, you know, are not the right coach for everybody. If you need somebody to balance your P&L, I am the wrong person,
Correct. There are
because I am not going to
95.
get those two letters in sequence.
No, and that's just it. It's 95% of the people that you meet will want to work with you because they'll, like you said, they'll be able to connect on some level. The other 5%, they can find somebody else, and that's okay. It's something that, on my coaching calls, right? Primarily, my coaching clients are relatively newer to the business. So getting them to also understand is not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay, right? I tell people all the time, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to change lives. That's my job as a coach. That's how I see it. My goal, because of the coaches I've been exposed to within the Tom Ferry ecosystem, and I've been very fortunate to have 3 really great coaches. My goal is just to pour into other people and to be a bright spot for someone when they need it and to support you in all your big, scary, ambitious things that you want to do in your life and never take credit for your success, but to just cheer you on at every step of the way. But that's also the ecosystem in general. If we're talking specifically Tom Ferry, that's the mindset of the entire ecosystem, right? And it is hard not to fall into the trap where, yes, I think it's like the 5 or 6 people you surround yourself with the most is kind of what you'll amount to or whatever. It's tough sometimes though to also branch out, right? And fear is a huge motivator to stop, or demotivator, I guess I should say, to stop people from wanting to reach out to connect with people that are bigger and better, because kind of what Sandra was talking about is they compare themselves. But it's like what Teddy Roosevelt said, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparing ourselves to others is only going to steal our happiness and our contentment and the joy that we get out of everything and what we're looking forward to in our own business. And that's a super hard thing to do. And that's where again, my conversations with a lot of my coaching clients is, don't worry about the guy next door. He's on chapter 10. You just started, you don't even have a title to your book yet. Like you haven't even cracked the book open. So don't judge and compare someone's chapter 10 to your beginning, because it's never going to work. And it just makes you
That
bummed.
that is a huge lesson to learn, and I get that from people. I hear that mostly with people who are resistant to video or resistant to rehearsing their scripts for buyers and sellers. You know, well, so and so does it so well on TikTok or Instagram, and I could never be as good as. You don't have to be as good as, or you don't have to even be them. Go be
Mhm.
yourselves. Some of my best my best videos where I was out walking one day, my hair is a wreck, and I am just going off about the real estate industry because I had had my fill of this one agent, and blah 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 blah. And I just made these 26 little short videos of me just being pissed off for 2 hours about something. It was just me being natural. I was not. I was in a t-shirt. My hair was a wreck. I was out in the Texas sun and the Texas weather. It was me being real. And I have to get people over that, what you're just talking about, over that ledge of it has to be perfect.
People
It
don't want
has to be
perfection
it
though.
has to be on the par of that person. They're doing their own thing, not your thing.
Well, no, and people don't want to work with perfect people, right? People want to work with people like them. And people inherently are flawed. So if your hair is a mess and you're sweating up a storm and you're in a t-shirt in the Dallas heat, that's fine because that's relatable to the entire DFW area. Everyone understands that it's hot, disgusting, sweaty, muggy, not fun to live. Like it's terrible. But it's the same here where like when we shoot videos in the snow and it's like -10 degrees and I'm bundled up and I'm freezing and I have like ice forming on my eyebrows and my eyelashes. It's relatable. I don't look good. I look a mess. But the reality is, people want real. There's this idea in the world of real estate that everything has to be curated to perfection. I don't know about you, but for me, I don't want to work with someone that's perfect because I can't relate to that. But I want to work with someone that makes mistakes. For example, I record videos in terms of, in regards to like our paperwork here in Minnesota. I had to re-record a video. I misedited my video. There's a section in it where I fumble and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, Daniel. And I go back and record. I sent that video to new clients that I've never met. And they were like, you're relatable. Great. This is fun. Just FYI, you might want to check out this part of your video. It might offend somebody else. Right? But that's just it is. I make mistakes too. But it makes you relatable. Perfection also, I think, is just something that if you strive for, it's just you're never going to be happy with it. And it's like what Tom says, done is better than perfect. Get your video out, get your name, get your face, build your brand, and then you can add on to it. You don't have to perfect it. But maybe you go from shooting on your phone to having a videographer follow you around. That's cool. And it's going to look better than your cell phone video, but guess what? It will never be perfect. You will always have a blemish. You will always have bad hair, a bad angle, an ill-fitting shirt. You're going to stumble on your words. So what? You did the damn thing. High five yourself and move on. Prioritize what's important. Perfection is not important.
We need that on a t-shirt. I find that I can say that exact speech. Congratulations, you did it beautifully just now. And I still can't get people over it because they're still stuck on that perfection. And I don't know if it's something that we teach in society. I think it is something we teach in society because everything in advertising is glamorous and fabulous. But I have to undo that with some people. And I wish I had the magic potion to get them over that hump. And if we could just get done is better than perfect stamped on a stamp or something, that would apply to so much of the real estate industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so much of it needs to be just do the work.
Well, and as a coach, my goal is to also just lead by example. If I'm asking you to do these things and you're not going to look perfect, then I'm going to put stuff out too where I don't look perfect. Right? For example, I like to have a nice morning routine. I had every intention of getting up at 5 a.m. yesterday. I woke up. I was going to post on my Instagram story that I woke up and I fell back asleep for 2 more hours. I wasn't perfect that day, but I still shared the fact that, oh, scratch that, we're starting at this time instead today. But it's just it's relatable content because you know what? You can't fire at 100 all day, every day.
Right.
Right? And Tom Ferry, love him, love him, love him. He doesn't fire on all cylinders all day. There's no way. We just don't get to see it.
Right.
Right? But you've watched him on YouTube, you've watched him at conferences if you've been there. He swears, he flubs his words. He can't spell. He's normal, just like all of us. And I think that's just we have to help remind coaching clients and other agents and people, self-employed people, I think in general, that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up and do the damn thing. And like I said, prioritize. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
I think one of the things you just said is exactly the biggest takeaway I got from the Tom Ferry Summit. And it's something that just needs to be said over and over. Just do the damn thing. I mean, if you're strong at X, Y, or Z in real estate, great. Do that. Do that until you can't do it wrong. Just keep working that. And right now, I think there's a lot of distractions with, things going on in the industry that we won't bring into this video. That people are just, kind of waiting for the sky to fall. And in the meantime, there's sales that they're losing because they heard somewhere on an article on wherever that the sky was going to fall. Okay, great. In the meantime, half of your day, as Sandra was saying, 5 or 10% of your database is going to transact.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And you pulled yourself off the game.
I'll just keep repeating myself. It's prioritizing the right things. The people that are missing opportunities that are just paying attention to the headlines and the noise, they're prioritizing that. They're prioritizing the worry, the frustration, the fear. You're not prioritizing your people. Our job is not to read headlines. Our job is not to parse through the fucking headlines, pardon my language. Our job is to care for, love for, and show up for our people. So learn your paperwork and show up for your people. If you show up for your people and you're transparent and you're honest and they know that you love on them and care for them, They're not going to question you because you've established your value as the person that shows up. Real estate is not just buying and selling property. It is showing up for someone if they're at a chemo treatment. It's running and getting groceries for someone who just broke their leg. It's showing up with a cupcake because someone had a birthday and just be like, oh, I brought you a cupcake. It's the little things. That's the stuff that's going to move the needle for people moving forward, right? There was kind of this overarching method or message with Summit this year outside of an abundance mindset. It's relationships. I'll repeat, it's relationships, right? The size of your business, quite frankly, don't give an F about it. I don't care how many homes you sold or how much money you made. How did you make people feel at the end of the day? And do you feel good about what you've done? Those for me are the benchmarks of success when I'm talking to my coaching clients, right? If they're analytical, it's numbers driven, that's fine. We can have those conversations. I'm still going to ask, how do you feel at the end of the day? Did you feel like you changed a life or impacted somebody somewhere? Because that's success. You can make a paycheck and collect money all day long. That's not hard. It's hard to be there and show up for people on a regular basis outside of a real estate transaction.
Yes.
So, but that's also what's going to carry you through this business for years to come, right? To your point, we're talking about like if you do something, do that really well. That's great. That's people for me. That's relationships for me.
Mhm.
Video, I do video. Do I do it at a level that I should? I'll be the first to admit that I don't. I know I should. I've had a prioritization problem myself as a coach, as a team owner, as a business owner. I've had a prioritization problem. I'm fixing that. I'm changing the lens in which I approach my days, reprioritizing what's actually important, and realizing some of the stuff that I used to prioritize above all else does not matter. And I've got more done since I got home from Summit than I have probably in the last month. And
Excellent.
that, again, where, I bring a lot of that to my coaching calls and to my coaching relationships. It's personal. I share my own stories. My whole piece is I won't sell you on coaching, but I will tell you why I'm here. I'll tell you why I joined. I tell you why I stayed and why I ultimately wanted to become a coach. That's the power within the ecosystem, the power of coaching. But it's just all of that stuff. And it's what the conversations have been repetitive in my coaching calls, but they need to be right now because there's a lot of noise here in the States. Right. And a lot of headlines, to your point, Bob, where the people are so worried about headlines and elections and this and that. Who cares? The world will keep moving forward the day after the election. People will buy and sell homes after the election. People will still need you to show up for them outside of the real estate transaction after the election. What the hell are we worried about?
Well, and let's take the emphasis off of election as much as because as soon as that's over, there'll be something else on the news.
Oh, 100%.
There'll be something. The news is not going to turn bright and cheery, no matter which way you want it to go. We're still going to have blah 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 is happening. Okay,
Yep.
now let's go reach our database, talk to them, be
Correct.
their advisor and their friend on real estate, and as you were saying, be a part of their world. I think what you were saying was incredibly important because I get the resistance point from time to time of I don't want to be too salesy. And I always hit back with be of service to them. Be of service to people so that they don't feel like you're just showing up at the moment that there's a transaction, but you know about their dog and you know about their kids and you know about their situation and you're part of their world.
Well, it's real
And
estate sales, but it's a service industry. We are a service
yes,
provider. So to your point, it's continue to provide service after the transaction. The relationship doesn't end when you sign paperwork and I cash a check.
yeah,
It doesn't
excellent.
end until you tell me to go away.
And even then I'm going to still try to keep up with you from time to time.
Basically,
Thank you for being here. I want to thank Sandra who had to drop off. Will you come back next month and we'll do this again?
of course.
Okay, everybody tune in next month for Coach by Coaches, and we'll have a whole new group of people here and talk about more stuff in coaching. If you have suggestions and topics you want us to cover, put them in the links below.